Well, guys, here we are talking about a newer movie that, in true horror heads fashion, we decided not to do any conversation prior to the episode at all before we got into it. So we have no idea how the other one feels about this one. And we're talking about, well, I was going to say a brand new movie, but actually I guess it's from last year. We're talking about a 2017 movie by, and it's not by Netflix, because this is one of the things that, and maybe we'll get this a little bit more during the episode, but Netflix isn't producing all of this stuff that they're putting out, but they are, just scooping up a lot of it and then distributing it, which is a smart thing, I guess. But this is another new Netflix movie. We've covered a couple of these in the past, and we're talking about the 2017 movie, The Ritual.
It's an interesting film. I was thinking, I don't know about you, but did you get any like An American Werewolf in London vibes from this one?
A little bit.
I mean, not like, obviously it's not about a werewolf, and it's different concept and all that, but I don't know, the whole idea of like all the, like the whole going on a, out in the woods and that kind of, it was kind of like in my, well, first it was, I started to feel that vibe, but then it kind of turned into more of a Blair Witch vibe.
It had a little bit of the Blair Witch vibe going on to it. It had a little bit of the American Werewolf vibe going on to it. But at the same time, I thought that this movie was very original, even though I kind of got some of those other vibes to it. The other movie that it reminded me of more than American Werewolf, where I can see where you're coming from with that a little bit, but the two movies that I was thinking of when I first watched this is Blair Witch meets The Witch.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny you say that. I was just about to say the same thing.
So that's the feel that I got for it. And then a little bit too of, goes back to another Netflix movie, or, well, it was series, I guess, but Dark, that came out last year, which was a foreign series as well. But it kind of had that feel to it a little bit, because there was a lot of things in The Ritual to where you weren't really sure what was going on at certain parts.
I'll have to admit, and we'll have to kind of work through this one together. I only watched it once, and actually it took me a while to get it going, because something would come up, I'd start it, and then oh crap, I can't watch it now, and then I'd have to start it again. And so I saw the opening probably 3 times, but then the rest of the film I only saw once. Just to kind of refresh my memory on it, it's about this guy or a bunch of guys, and they kind of hang out, and they go out drinking together, and then one night, 2 of the guys go into this liquor store, and they're getting some more liquor for the evening, and turns out the place is getting robbed at the same time, and one of the guys gets killed in the robbery, and it's like heroin addicts who basically are robbing the store, just getting money, and they kill the one guy, and then the other guy survives because he's kind of hiding off to the side. So anyhow, these guys kind of, these friends get together, and they go out to this camping thing, because it's sort of their annual or whatever trip, and to kind of pay their respects for the friend who died. Am I right on this?
Yep. The only thing you're missing is the very opening scene, as they're sitting in a pub and they're drinking and they're planning their annual trip. And the guy who ends up getting killed in this robbery had suggested going hiking in these, wherever the Alps or wherever the hell they're at. And so he gets killed, and so then they oh, well, we're going to do this in remembrance of him.
I see.
Is how they ended up there.
Okay. And the one thing, starting off right out the bat, the one thing that I thought was kind of weird was how the guy who survives, like, because during the scene when the place is getting robbed, like, the one friend is like, kind of has to confront the two robbers, and they're like telling him, take off or give me your wallet and give me your wedding ring and all this stuff. And then the other guy's like hiding off to the side of the aisle. But the other guy who ends up getting killed, like, looks over at the other guy, which kind of seemed like it was like a dead giveaway that, hey, there's somebody else in the store. And that seemed kind of odd that they didn't go and check that out. I mean, again, if they were, high on opiates or something, maybe that's the reasoning. But at the same time, it was like, it seemed like he was kind of giving his friend away. But anyhow, I mean, I digress. I don't want to go and get into it too much about that. Now I get a better understanding of it.
So then what happens is these four guys, they go on this like hike camping expedition to pay homage to their deceased friend. And the one guy, which I always thought was kind of funny, in, this typical character in a lot of stuff is this, he's the fat, out of shape guy in the group. He gets injured, but I mean, he's like a normal guy. He's not really that fat. He's not out of shape at all. But anyway, he ends up twisting his knee. And so then while they're camping back, they decide that they're going to do a shortcut through the woods and get back to the city or not the city, but the little village that they're going to. And that's when all hell breaks loose, is when they cut back into the woods. And one of the first things that happens is they are hiking back via this shortcut, and they decide that they're going to crash the night in this abandoned cabin out in the middle of the woods that they find. They go to sleep, and all four of them have various nightmares throughout the night, which kind of reminded me, like you were saying, of the Blair Witch Project a little bit. They decided they're going to kind of trek on through it the next day. As they're trekking through, they know that something is going on. There's this tension in the group starts to build up a little bit. The guy that has his twisted knee, he's, blaming the guy that didn't get killed in the liquor store for the other guy dying. And then, they know something is going on. Eventually what ends up happening, a couple of them end up getting killed. And then a couple of the guys, the one that survived the liquor store attack and then the guy that blamed him for the liquor store attack, they end up getting, I guess, captured is the best term for it, by these individuals that are out in the woods. And then it turns out that there's this creature thing that is making sacrifices in the woods for itself, I guess. That was kind of the one thing I didn't realize, or I didn't really understand what it was doing when it was taking a body of whether it was a human or an animal, and it was like impaling it in the trees. If it was making an offering to some other being, that was one of the things I was like, but why are you putting that up in the trees? I don't know what you're doing there.
Yeah, I would say that the creature actually looked kind of cool. It was sort of interesting. It was like sort of like a demon creature type of thing. The human hands, I thought that was pretty creepy. It it was like a four-legged creature with like I don't remember. I can't even describe the head really, but then it had these like human hands that were part of it as well, and that just that made it really creepy in my opinion.
Yeah, it was like a giant deer with a human torso as the head kind of thing. Yeah, it was one of those things, and I was curious as to what you were going to think about that, because when I watched it, I remember thinking like, oh, it's a monster movie, cool. And then like they show the monster, and I was like, oh, I think that's kind of cool looking. I wonder what Mark's going to think that looks like.
What I think I did like about this film is that they did a good job of kind of keeping the monster sort of hidden. I mean, you see it, but it like never is like it's definitely a CGI monster because I mean they needed to run and do all this stuff, but they keep it sort of in the shadows in the darkness just enough to kind of keep you wondering about it, I guess, and kind of keep it more real. So I thought that was kind of cool. And nowadays, it's like it seems like it's really hard to come up with a new design. Like, oh, what's going to be like? What haven't we seen yet? I mean, it's like everything's sort of been done. So I think they did an okay job for the most part coming up with a design for. I thought going back to the whole human torso arms type thing. I thought that was really quite creepy.
Yeah, and this goes back to what we've talked about before on here. This is a British horror movie, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier in the episode, where this wasn't a movie that was commissioned by Netflix or anything like that, or Netflix like sent a team out into the field and been like, "Hey, make this movie about this thing." This movie was made and like went to some like film festivals and stuff, and this was one of those ones that Netflix picked up. And this also kind of goes into line with what I think is really cool with Netflix is while Netflix is picking up all of these like stand-up comedy specials, and they have shows like what is it, Grace and Frankie, or Frankie and Grace, or whatever, with the old ladies on, and they have all these like romantic comedies and all this other stuff, and documentaries and all this stuff that they're putting out there. But Netflix is really investing in horror. They have this, they have Stranger Things, they have the other show like I was talking about before, Dark. I was just reading the other day about they have a new movie out there now that's supposed to be really good, Veronica. It's really cool to see, which it's kind of funny because when you think of Netflix, and I still am this way, I think of, Netflix, getting DVDs in the mail, and now I can watch some stuff on my computer, which I watch Netflix on my TV, so why I still think of watching stuff on my computer. They really are a major film company now, and to see them like heavily investing in horror is pretty cool. And so hopefully we get some mainstream horror that is good. A lot of times when you get these mainstream horror movies that everybody are, when you hear stuff through the grapevine from people that typically aren't horror fans, and they're like, "Oh, you got to check out this horror movie because I heard about this horror movie at the grocery store and it's supposed to be the best thing ever." And then you're like, "Okay, well, I'm a horror fan, so sure, I'll check that out." And then you watch it, and then you're like, "Man, that was a steaming pile of just donkey shit. What the hell was it? Was horrible."
It's been really hard like to find new things, and I don't know, I think as we get older, well, at least for me, it's been difficult to accept new things. So I find myself kind of a little bit closed-minded, which is probably not the best thing, but it's like everything I've kind of get excited about always has a connection somehow to the past. Like obviously like this new Halloween movie, it's oh my gosh, Nick Castle, the original Michael Myers is back. That's why it's going to be great. That's kind of how my brain's working right now. You got to be open. You got to be looking for these new things that are out there. I think the next one on my list, I do want to see this new movie Get Out because it did get a lot of accolades. I wasn't too big on The Shape of Water, but I'm going to give Get Out a shot. Yeah, Netflix seems to be kind of going in the right direction for us.
The thing with Netflix, I think a lot of times is they will have stuff that's really great, but at the same time, I think they have just as much stuff that's not good at all. And that goes across the board, too, so it's not just horror. There's a lot of stuff out there with Netflix, I think.
Right.
But I think they're at a certain point in their whatever that they... I'm not 100% sure on this at all, but I would assume that if you're going out there and you're like, hey, so this monster movie you have with this weird deer human thing, we'll give you $1 million for it, or whatever, $2 million for it, and then we'll put it out there. And then if it's popular, we'll give you some more money. And if it's not, then yeah, whatever, go to hell. Because that seems to be what kind of they're doing. I mean, Netflix is putting out so much stuff of their own lately that I just can't imagine that they are, like this. They're like, oh, we'll give you, whatever, $20 million for it. I can't imagine that you would be able to keep afloat if you were doing that for everything you're putting out.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? As time goes on, we'll see what kind of what they keep bringing up. There's another one I wanted to check out too, called, I think, The Death Note. Did you see that one? I think it's called Death Note. I don't know, whatever. But it's maybe next on one of our maybe future episodes. We'll see. So what do you give this one? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Oh, I would give it a thumbs up for sure. This is definitely an enjoyable movie. I think it's a little bit of a slow burner, but once it kind of gets going, it really drew my attention in. And I thought the monster was great.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't watch this movie again. I don't know that this is like a film that like I was like, oh yes, really like, thought was the greatest thing ever or whatever. But I think it was effective, and I think it did accomplish what it set out to do. So I guess I just have to give it a thumbs up for those reasons. It's not something that I would say, oh gosh, this is like Zombies or something like that. No, this one's got it. This one's definitely one that I think you should check out.
Oh, Zombies. Wonder when they're going to put out a sequel to that one.
I know.